What is going on, YouTube and weight loss warriors? It's your boy C-Dub, and I'm back with another video. And today I want to talk about insulin resistance and how it affects weight loss and kind of everything we need to know. And I'm going to do it right after this. What is going on? If you're new to this channel, my name is C-Dub, and I lost 125 pounds eating just one meal a day, or OMAD. I'd like to welcome you to the channel. I started this channel to hook you up with tips, tricks, knowledge, and ideas that I learned along the way in my journey to help you out on your journey. I'd like to welcome you to my subscribers, my weight loss warriors, the people that come in and day out and support this channel and help it grow so that I can reach new people. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for being a part of my channel, and thank you for helping this community become something special. Now, with all of that said, let's hop into it. And we're going to hop into it with this quick little understanding of what insulin resistance is, and then we're going to break it down from there. So what insulin resistance is basically you have a cell, and your cell is resisting against the insulin that your pancreas is creating. It's the beginning of what will develop into type 2 diabetes. Now, when we talk about diabetes, there's two kinds of diabetes, type 1 and type 2. And type 1, your pancreas is not creating the insulin. And type 2, your pancreas is creating more insulin than your body needs. And so therefore, your cells are going to start resisting against that insulin. So your body has to produce more of that insulin to try to penetrate the same cell. And so that becomes insulin resistance. Now, why this is important and how do you even know what's going on? Well, the strange thing about this is when you go to a doctor, they run, tests on you. And they don't really talk to you much about your insulin levels unless you've reached the type 2 diabetic range. So if your insulin blood sugar is under 100, then you're never going to hear a word about it. You have normal functioning insulin. But from 100 to 125 is where you become insulin resistant. And then once you get over 125, you become diabetic or type 2 diabetic. And sometimes when you get in that insulin resistant range, they'll call you pre-diabetic. And a lot of people's thoughts when they're pre-diabetic is, well, at least I'm not diabetic. But they don't even, sometimes, and some doctors won't even talk to you until you've reached the diabetic range, and they don't even look at the insulin resistance or the pre-diabetic stage of it as a problem at all, and not even giving you a warning that you're there. So a lot of us go through the process where we don't even know. And for me, for example, after I lost weight, asked my doctor to show me some of my old blood work, and I saw that I was in the insulin resistant range and never was mentioned to me whatsoever. I mean, it did briefly get mentioned to me in two different doctors along the way in my 20s and 30s, but I only had it mentioned as kind of like, hey, you're a little bit over the limit you'd want to be where your blood sugar is. Most of the time it was completely ignored, although I was pre-diabetic and insulin resistant for a very long time. So that's kind of how that stuff functions. So your cell is basically not going to be able to absorb insulin in the right way. So your pancreas continues to push more of it out to give the cell what it needs, because your cell has basically said, look, we've had enough of your insulin nonsense. And it's just this weird, vicious cycle. And it's something that actually is going to be the root cause for so many of our diseases and so many of our problems. And even today, with a lot of this, virus scare and those things going on, that the people that are pre-diabetic, diabetic are at a higher risk of being injured in a bad way from this, or being very, very ill. Let's just put it that way. So when we talk about all that, how does that play into weight loss also? Well, weight loss is a situation where your body has to be able to burn energy for something. And it's going to burn energy more efficient when there's less insulin in your body, because when your insulin switch is turned on, your body is not going to be burning fat. It's going to be burning sugar for fuel, or burning what you just ate, the glucose. So you're going to eat it and your body's going to turn it into glucose or sugar, and you're going to use that energy for moving around. So when your pancreas has to create more of the insulin, it is harder for you to get your body to move over to its stored body fat, even when you are eating the proper amount of food. And so it kind of becomes this cycle where we look at it as as you age, your metabolism slows down, so you always eat the way you always have and you gain weight. Well, that's part of it, but also our blood sugar levels continue to rise as we get older, especially when we're not doing things in the most healthy way or we're eating a lot of processed foods. And basically, ultimately, what's going to happen there is your blood sugar is going to creep up. Well, as your blood sugar creeps up, your weight is going to creep up too, because you're spending longer amounts of your day in your insulin storage mode than you are in your body fat burning mode. So you're spending, when you're a kid, you're able to burn right through the sugars that your body has now created, and you're able to get right back into fat burning mode a lot of times. And some of us have had issues. We all know that. But ultimately, when we become an adult, it becomes harder and harder. And the higher the blood sugar goes, the harder it becomes. And then unfortunately, when you get to the point where you're type 2 diabetic and now your cells are not accepting the insulin anymore, the answer from the medical professionals right now, all that we have is to add more insulin into the mix. So you're actually then start having to inject insulin, which is trying to get more of it into the cell because your cell is still resisting against that whole process. And this becomes just a slippery situation that you don't want to be in. So the bottom line is, whether you're type 2 diabetic or you're insulin resistant, or you're even at a point where you're about to be insulin resistant, you can turn a lot of that around by changing your lifestyle. And it has been showed in studies that if you lose 5% of your body weight, your insulin resistant levels will drop dramatically. And so that's something that a lot of people don't understand is if you start losing weight, once you get to a 5% marker, is not that hard to get to, 5% of your total body weight, then your insulin resistant levels are going to start going the other direction, and your body's going to start looking at things a little differently than it is. And as you lose weight more, the more likely that is to happen. So weight loss is a big part of this, but also if you're spending over 200 minutes a week exercising, your body also becomes less insulin resistant. And a lot of times people don't really talk about that. And so when you really think about 200 minutes of exercise a week, is really not that big a deal. If we take that 200 minutes and you just break it down and say, well, that's not that long per day. So simply exercising 30 minutes a day would get you over that to 110 exercise minutes a week. And there would, set you up to where you're being less insulin resistant just by getting your exercise done too. And of course, eliminating processed foods is going to be a big step. And if you want to take it farther, you can eliminate carbohydrates, because they get turned into glucose much quicker than fats or protein do. But fats can sometimes be changed over, and definitely proteins when they've been overeaten. So those are things you have to consider too. So it's not just a one-way. Carbohydrates are the only thing that can happen. Overeating becomes a problem in general, and your body can turn that stuff into sugar pretty quickly. Now, with all of that, something else we can do that may seem like common sense because you're on my channel right now, but is fasting. All right, there have been several studies that have showed from many different platforms on intermittent fasting and on Ramadan both, that show that you have a certain hormones in your body that are more likely to make your cells accept insulin happen during a fasted period of time. And that's huge news. So without getting into every detail of exactly what that is, I don't want to science you guys to death. We basically, when we're fasted, we produce something that allows our cells to absorb insulin easier when we're breaking a fast. So if you're eating all the time every day, you're not going to be able to get yourself into that situation quite like you would if you are an intermittent faster. So if you're intermittent fasting, you're exercising for over 30 minutes a day, and you're cutting back a little bit on your processed foods, you're going to be making huge steps to reverse insulin resistance. And once you do that, you're going to allow your body to go from fat storage mode to fat burning mode quicker. And then you're going to be able to start burning fat for energy. And once your body gets used to burning fat for energy, it's going to be able to make that metabolic switch between burning carbs for energy and fat for energy back and forth much easier, and your insulin levels are going to stay more consistent, and everything is going to work so much better for you just by making a couple of adjustments in your life. So I hope that you found this video helpful. I hope that you see the benefits in it. And if you want to know more benefits to fasting, I got a video on autophagy right here. Click on that thing and watch it. It'll give you all the information you need to know about autophagy in my face. You know it's going to pop up right there. Click on that thing and subscribe to this channel. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. Talk to you on the next one. Peace.